of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Rose, answer. Yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Good afternoon, everybody. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM The Fan. Also streaming on 1069thefan.com and the 1069 The Fan mobile app. Talking about a variety of different topics today. A lot of hoops talk today. Utah State men's basketball with a true road win, their first of the season. We got Region 11 basketball that is in full swing. A lot of games going on this weekend, and some games tonight, in fact. And so we'll give our kind of a preseason preview, although the season's already underway. So I guess it's just a season preview at this point.
It's kind of a belated season preview. There's only one team that I think has played more than one game. So a lot of teams are heading into their second game, today or tomorrow or whatnot. But we'll get into those previews, and we'll also try and have some of the head coaches on throughout this, non-region / preseason. Now, sometimes they call the non-region the preseason, which, I don't know. It used to be, because it used to not matter what your record was. Now it does matter what your non-region record is.
Yes. So we'll get into that. Utah Jazz, they're in action tonight, so we'll preview their matchup and give an update on the in-season tournament, because I know you're all itching to figure out how things stand now that we move on to the knockout round.
There's a bunch of people that are saying, oh, they're close games, because there were never close games in the regular season.
Or teams leaving their starters in late in the fourth quarter when it's already a 20-point blowout, because point differential matters.
Yeah, you get a little bit of that. And I know there was a clip the other day where I think it was Boston's coach, Joe Mazzulla, I think.
Yeah, Mazzulla.
Where I think he had to explain to the opposing head coach why he was fouling.
Billy Donovan.
Yeah, it was like, and he goes over, look, this is why. And I don't think Billy Donovan was happy, but afterwards he was probably like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is that you have something like that in soccer where you talk about point differential or goal differential, as we refer to it in that sport, where everyone knows. And so you don't have to have the conversation, but it's such a foreign concept in the NBA that everyone's like, what the heck are you doing?
Why does it matter in this game versus the one we just played?
Yeah, and you have to explain it. And again, this is part of why it feels like a regular season game, but you've just ham-fisted, this one is an in-season tournament game. That's why they need to emphasize, just section off the regular season and say, all right, it's NBA Cup time. Just roll with it.
So every game is part of that. But of course the NBA can't do that.
Yeah, and that way you're constantly in that mindset. Okay, point differential matters, and all of this matters. So the coach doesn't have to walk over and say, hey, sorry I'm fouling. I'm up by 68 points, but I do need to get that extra 4 points on top of that so we can get to the bracket.
Yes, so we'll get into that a little bit later on as well. Utah State volleyball, they're heading to the NCAA tournament and taking on Minnesota in Omaha. I was trying to get that right. And, Jason, you got a chance to speak with Coach Rob Nielsen, so we'll play that a little bit later on in the show as well. But let's start talking about Utah State men's basketball going to St. Louis. And St. Louis, 5-2 on the year, but not any real signature victories on their resume. But it was a chance to see where this Utah State basketball team is in a true road contest where it's not some obscure high school gym where you're in a tournament. You're on somebody else's court. Their fans will be there. Their pet band will be there, whatever. And so curious to see how Utah State would do. And they took care of business, though they didn't make it easy at the end.
Yeah, I was not terribly surprised with the way Utah State was able to start, because St. Louis was a team that had struggled in games against some good teams. Their two toughest opponents, when you're looking at KenPom, their two toughest opponents were losses. They'd also barely beaten a team that was in the 300s, and that was a home game for them. It was Dartmouth, the team that's in the 300s in KenPom, or were last time I checked. They're right on the edge of being just inside the top 300. And they lost one of their top players, at least one of the guys who kind of elevated himself, Sincere Parker, who'd been averaging 17 points a game. They did have returners and go-to guys from last year's team, so that's probably helped them a little bit. For instance, Gibson Jimerson, he ended up with 28 points in this game. Like, he was their key. He's been their leading scorer for like 2 years running. So they had some, guys who go out there and score, and they ended up doing that. They ended up rallying. The Aggies went up by 20 points with just under 13 minutes to play. And so, that aspect wasn't too surprising. So, okay, Utah State, they're playing really well. They're playing good defensively. Offensively, there's a lot of things going their way. Great Osbar continuing to dominate teams, especially because St. Louis is a small team. So I wasn't completely floored that they were up by 20. It was a little surprising because St. Louis is a tough place to play. It is very comparable to the Spectrum in terms of atmosphere and home court advantage. So the fact they were up by 20 was a little surprising. But then once they got there, it was a little surprising that they dang near gave it up.
Okay, so this was a question that's been eating at me for most of the day. So Utah State has this nice lead. They're in control of the game, but it becomes a single possession game in the final minute. So was this a function of a late game collapse by the Aggies, or just surviving the home team's furious comeback in the final minutes of the game?
I think Sprinkle didn't seem like, in his postgame, he didn't seem too upset about the run. So we knew they were going to make a run. And I know there were some things defensively I'm sure he didn't like. But it didn't feel like the Aggies were playing horrible defense during their stretch because, I think St. Louis, I forget what the numbers were, but they were shooting something in the low 40s percentage up until the moment the Aggies got that 20-point lead. Up until the final minute, they made 11 of 15 shots. This is a span of probably about 12 minutes. They made 11 of their 15 shots. That included going 4 of 8 from 3. And that was actually something I was identifying in the first half. Was like St. Louis had shot pretty well from 3, and it was the only reason it was like a 9-point game at halftime. And I thought, okay, if St. Louis ends up coming back from this, it's going to be because of their 3-point shooting. And it kind of was. They hit some pretty crazy threes. They hit some tough shots. There were a couple of defensive breakdowns from the Aggies in terms of allowing some layups. But I don't think it was this catastrophic collapse on defense. I think it was a combination of St. Louis getting a little hot, maybe a couple extra defensive breakdowns. There were a couple of failed box out. That was the thing Danny Sprinkle wasn't as happy about, is a couple of St. Louis's threes came on failed box outs, where the St. Louis, a team that is one of the worst offensive rebounding teams in the country, partly by philosophy, partly by their size.
It's their roster makeup, yeah.
So they got a couple of offensive rebounds. They hit some threes off of it. So part of that comeback, some offensive rebounds, whatnot. Then the Aggies just really taking their foot off the gas offensively. They really started to slow things down. I think as St. Louis was building momentum, Utah State was trying to just dial it back by slowing things down. I mean, when St. Louis went on a 14-4 run, and that was immediately after the Aggies went up by 20. They were 60-40, and then 14-4 run. So a couple minutes later, it's 64-54. Danny Sprinkle didn't call timeout, which wasn't necessarily a killer because the Aggies went on like a 62 run a moment later. So It's not like that killed them. But I say that to emphasize it was just to slow things down, drain as much time off the clock, and I'm not a big fan of that strategy, especially because I know Danny Sprinkle likes to slow it down at times, but this team getting out and running is their specialty, getting transition, getting some easy shots. They're not as great in the half court. So slowing it down, it ended up hurting their own offense to where they'd played really well on offense. They shot like 57%, for the game. And then they just kind of slowed it down. It's like if you're shooting that well, there's no need to slow down. They didn't slow down against Stephen F. Austin at all, and they were killing him. But against St. Louis, it just seemed like there was this deliberate slowdown, and it hurt their offense. And while it did kind of work because St. Louis just ran out of time in their comeback, it made things a little interesting because you were entirely relying on a defense to shut down a increasingly hot St. Louis offense.
Yeah, and Coach Sprinkle, after the game, he wasn't very critical of his team in how close they allowed the game to be, other than there were a few points that coaching situations. You be careful about where you're inbounding the ball or where you're at with the ball so they can't trap you. And there's a situation where they're right on the inbounds line and they go out of bounds in an area where they shouldn't be. And just a few little things that are about coaching, but he wasn't hypercritical about his team almost giving it away. So I think in the end, just as I posed that question, was this more of a late game collapse by the Aggies, or were they just able to survive the home team just trying to make a game of it? And I think it really is the latter. St. Louis isn't a bad team. It's at home. They're trying to get one at home. There was a sparse crowd. It wasn't a great crowd there.
Yeah, they're not packing their stadium, but I mean, like I said, it's comparable to the Spectrum, where they're not always packing the Spectrum, but the crowd can still, and it started to get really, rowdy toward the end as St. Louis was making that rally.
And the other thing too, Ian Martinez in the starting lineup in place of Josh Uduje.
That doesn't surprise me too much. I expected Ian Martinez to start, assuming he was going to get the eligibility waiver. He wasn't eligible for the first game because they were still deciding. The fact that he didn't start over Mason Falstaff was a bit of a surprise, but I think that Uduje hasn't had the best start to the season. I was expecting him to come in and be potentially one of the top scorers. That was his specialty at Coastal Carolina, was averaging 12, 13 points a game, was a good slasher, good mid-range shooter. So I thought he was going to bring a bit of an offensive punch. He's brought it a little bit, but I think he's struggled a tad defensively. And Ian Martinez is playing very well defensively.
Yes.
Dude's averaging more than a block per game as a 6'3" guard, which is insane. And he's also hounding guys in the perimeter. And then he's playing pretty well defensively. He and Uduje are actually playing fairly well, fairly similarly in terms of their offensive production. And then Martinez is giving a little bit more defensively. So it makes sense that switch would be made. It means that Martinez is going to keep getting more minutes. Uduje is probably going to see a few less, but just playing the best guys at the right times.
Yeah, Martinez had 3 blocks on the night. So did Osabor. And as it came down to it, both of those 2 guys had blocks on that final St. Louis possession to seal the game.
Yeah, Martinez was kind of, just to be sure, because it was a desperation 3. USU was up by 5. It was at the buzzer, but whatever. Osbor's was a big block because it was still a couple seconds left. And, I mean, if he fouls and gets an and one in that situation, that's awful, but manages to get an emphatic swat off the backboard. And, St. Louis happened to recover it, go out 3. Ian Martinez blocked it. But, yeah, several different key plays from those 2 guys. And in Ian Martinez, he had great defensive plays. And one of the plays that didn't show up in the stat sheet that Danny Sprinkle talked about afterward to the media was one of those inbounds where they're kind of scrambling because Utah State was kind of trapped. And I think he said Osborne or Brown had to lob it up, and Ian Martinez just flies up, does a big old one-handed catch, comes down, his toes are inches from the end line, but he catches it, lands, holds his balance, and then is able to get rid of the ball as he's double-teamed, got it to either Osborne or Brown. And I think Brown ended up being fouled moments after that. Brown hits the free throws, they go up by 5. Yeah. And so Martinez kind of made a potentially game-saving play by not turning it over, what would have been not turning it over again, because they had 2 or 3 turnovers on those inbound plays, which helped facilitate that late rally for St. Louis to be within 3 points.
Yeah, so a good win for USU, 81 points. We were talking about this team is a good defensive team, but where would the offense come from? But consistently, they're producing a good high level of offense. Most of that is fueled by their defense. They're able to get out on transition. But Isaac Johnson really showed up strong early, had a great first half, and then kind of disappeared in the second half. But it wasn't necessarily because of anything he was doing wrong. Coach Sprinkle said that was a move because they were going small and we needed to match their speed. So he kind of indicating it wasn't necessarily a knock against Johnson as much as what the lineup was giving us.
Yeah, it's interesting because the big knock against Isaac Johnson so far this season is because he's really struggled on the defensive end. He's struggled to guard on the perimeter, which in modern defenses, you're going to have to be able to do that to some degree. Even the big old, shot-swatting centers. You got to be able to switch. And Danny Sprinkle wants to switch a lot. But Isaac, he was a lot better in guarding the perimeter against St. Louis. did very well. I don't remember any particular play where he got burned super bad, if at all. So played good defense, and then obviously was spectacular on offense. 14 first-half points, went like 5 of 7 from the field. Ends with 16 points. He had an early shot in the second half. And, yeah, Sprinkle just said that St. Louis went, like, super small. Because, I mean, St. Louis was already playing small when Isaac Johnson was playing against in the first half. But he's basically saying they went with 4 guards and, like, their center was a forward who played like a guard anyway. So this ultra-small lineup, which I feel like he should have given Isaac Johnson maybe a bit more of a shot just because of how much of an offensive game Johnson was having and the fact that he hadn't had a bad defensive game. I would have liked to at least see more of Isaac Johnson than rather than just like on principle bench him, maybe give him a chance. But Danny Sprinkle's being paid to be a head coach, and I'm not. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you look at the most of the lineup and how they played, the Aggies went smaller. But, yeah, that's something that Isaac Johnson's got to figure out if he wants to be able to play longer minutes and meaningful minutes late in games. He's got to be able to understand his role on the court defensively to stay on the court besides what he can do offensively.
Yeah, and I think he did that against St. Louis. I feel like the thing with Sprinkle is he said, like, they're just going ultra small with basically a 5-guard lineup. And he just didn't want to put two, Osborne and Isaac Johnson out there. So he said they just needed more speed to be able to counter that. So I think as we go on, as Utah State will eventually play teams that aren't constantly throwing out 6'5" guys, they're going to play teams with actual more traditional lineups or closer to your standard lineup. So I think Isaac Johnson, this is a good sign that he can go against some smaller lineups. And, against bigger lineups, he should be able to find, good little niche on Utah State. A guy who can average 20, 21 minutes a game is kind of a low-minute starter who can provide a big impact when he's on the court.
So the latest in Ken Pomeroy has Utah State at 61. So moving up, continuing to improve and increase where they're at in his rankings. San Diego State is at 21. Colorado State at 27. Nevada at 43. New Mexico at 50, and then Utah State there at 61. Boise State is still in the top 100 as well. They're at 85, even though they're at a 3-3 overall record. So still some decent representation by the Mountain West, and San Jose State actually has still been improving and on the rise in those numbers as well. So a fairly good start for the top end of the Mountain West Conference so far.
Yeah, you look at the Ken Pom, everyone's in the top 200. I mean, even Air Force, who was kind of projected to take a nosedive because they lost some key players, some transfers and whatnot. And, Wyoming, who's obviously rebounding from one of their worst seasons in a while. But everyone's sitting in that top 200 in Ken Pom. You got, the 6 teams in the top 100? So, generally good start. You're not maybe quite getting San Diego State hasn't felt like they've made a huge impact. Granted, they are 21st in Ken Pom, so I don't know. We'll see how things continue to go, but I know Colorado State absolutely blasting Creighton the other day. Bit of a surprise there.
A very big surprise.
And former Utah State Aggie Stephen Ashworth not having a very good game in that matchup against Colorado State.
He hasn't been used very much in some of their games.
He's very much been a 4th or 5th option, basically an off-ball shooter point guard.
Yeah.
Which is kind of his best role, but I don't know. This is a guy who's a lights-out shooter. Granted, Creighton has plenty of other great players. So
right, and that's really the message with that I'm hearing some people try to beat a very loud drum to this. Like, do you want to transfer somewhere and be a rotation guy, or do you want to be a star? Because if you stay at a place like Utah State, you'll be a star. You may have aspirations of transferring to a bigger program with bigger stadium, yada, yada, yada. But your likelihood of being a star there are very, 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 very small. You might be a rotation guy, and for some, maybe that's okay. But when we saw these football players leave Utah State last year, chasing Cincinnati or Baylor or some of these other destinations, they weren't stars there. They weren't big contributors there. They were rotation guys.
Money talks. Ashworth is a much richer man as a rotation player on a top 25 team than he would be on Utah State. So that's just like I agree with what you're saying. Like, but this isn't the old college football where that's the only things that matter are, how big of a star you are, maybe what conference, and chances to go to the pros. You have to add in the fact that these guys are being handed six-figure checks to make these moves.
Yes, bags of money. All right, we're going to take a time out here in the Full Court Press. So when we come back, let's look at Region 11 basketball. The hoops season is here, and what do we project? How things will end up throughout Region 11 for boys basketball. That's coming up next.
It's back. Jarek's Fine Jewelry in Logan is having our annual Pick a Pearl event. If you've attended this in the past, you know how much fun we have. And if you haven't come before, you don't want to miss this exciting event. Still, only $10. Pick your oyster, open it that day, or save it for that stocking stuffer surprise. Mark your calendar, Friday and Saturday, December 8th and 9th. Pick a Pearl at Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Look for the bright green cars.
Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Make it special, make it Jarek's.
Adams Wealth Advisors is proud to announce that they've been named as one of the best financial advisory firms in the country by USA Today. Start maximizing your wealth potential with a team of experienced advisors who specialize in working with high net worth individuals. Let Adams Wealth Advisors help you achieve your financial goals with a personalized approach to investment management and planning. For more information on how Adams Wealth Advisors can help you achieve your financial goals, go to adamswealthadvisors.com. That's adamswealthadvisors.com.
Prodigy Brewing is the perfect place to meet up with family and friends this holiday season. Whether you're sipping on a carefully crafted brew, enjoying a delicious juicy burger, or biting into a sizzling wood fire pizza, Prodigy Brewing is the place to be. Come in for Trivia Tuesdays or with friends and family to celebrate the season. Voted best craft beer and bar and grill in northern Utah. Cheers to making unforgettable memories at Prodigy Brewing on Center Street in downtown Logan. Prodigy Brewing, extraordinary service and family friendly.
When it comes to home care, it's important to know you have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of hospice or home health services, remember that Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient as well as the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Visit us at primrosecare.com or call to schedule a free consultation. Primrose Home Care and Hospice, your local hospice and home health provider since 2006.
Hello, Cache Valley. This is Tom Hale at Blue Sky Restoration, formerly ARS. Remember, got a mess? Call ARS. We want to let you know that here at Blue Sky, we still have the same great staff, we provide the same excellent service, and are ready to help you in your time of need with water mitigation, mold remediation, or a fire. Thank you for trusting our staff and myself for over 35 years with your disaster needs, and we will continue to be here for you. From Blue Sky Restoration to you and yours, we wish you the safest and happiest holidays.
How often should you change the filter on your furnace? A lot of people are surprised when they find out that most filters are only good for 60 to 90 days. Some cheaper filters won't even last that long. If you buy a good quality filter, you should still have it checked or replaced every year. Doing this will make sure your furnace runs more efficiently and keep the air that you breathe cleaner. For a free consultation, call the Duct Hunter, 770-4813.
The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Jason stepping out for a second here. I want to get to a lot of your texts that have come through. 435-339-0321 if you want to chime in. We'll get to the Region 11 stuff here in just a minute. But this was sent in this morning, 2444. Observations from the USU basketball win yesterday. Isaac Johnson, a dynamic offensive player. For what I've seen this season, his defensive skill isn't bad either. I'd love to see his minutes increase. Great Osabor continues to be a problem for teams inside. Martinez is looking better and better every game. That first half dunk was electric. The ball movement was also awesome. Out length and quickness defensively is so much better than last season. I'm guessing that means hour length. And then I'm somewhat surprised that Sacco hasn't gotten more minutes so far this season. He's looked great in the short spurts that he has played. I think Carson Templin is kind of taking those minutes and those opportunities the way that he's playing. But, yeah, great observations from that game last night. 5-3-3-8. It appears that the University of Utah's farm system is sending the Aggies another football player. Apparently Jaden Pearson, who kind of a linebacker, also kind of a safety, depends on how the Aggies tend to use him, but was 6'3", 200 pounds, played at Utah, but has gone to the social media to declare that he's headed to Utah State. So nice addition for the Utah State defense. Also 5-3-3-8. The all-black uniforms almost did the Aggies in last night. Yeah, there's kind of a curse with the All Blacks, isn't there? Especially with football. It hasn't quite been the same with basketball, but almost got him. Almost got him last night. 9938 texting in. It seemed to me the USU basketball team played not to lose instead of keeping the pedal to the metal. Yeah, when teams start to do things that are uncharacteristic of their normal way of playing, you're inviting trouble. And I get the philosophy, I get the mindset, but when you don't do it often enough, then it's uncharacteristic and you get out of your typical rhythm. And that's like saying a typical slowdown team suddenly has to speed things up and play really great dynamic hurry-up offense. If that's not what they're used to, it's going to be sloppy and it's not going to be pretty. And it can be a challenge for some teams. 5374 texting in. A couple of texts. Our press inbounding was pretty bad. And also, why does it feel like Isaac Johnson barely plays? He played a good chunk of the first half. I don't know. I mean, we've seen this a little bit. Seems to be a growing trend here that he will play early and not play late. I don't know. I think there's situations where he is definitely useful in the lineup. I think coach is making it clear that he wants a certain level of defensive mindset on switching. And I don't know if that's just Isaac Johnson is just not quite there yet for what defensively Coach Sprinkle has in mind. But last night was certainly one of his better offensive games for sure. And started out really strong, got right to it, and helped the Aggies stretch that lead and create a comfortable gap there. But, yeah, you're right. We're not seeing much of him late in games. 435-339-0321 if you want to continue to weigh in. But, yeah, good win. Still good road win for USU. The return home take on UC Irvine on Saturday. And UC Irvine, pretty good team on the year. We'll certainly scout them when we get closer. But they're at 63 in Ken Palm. Utah State's right there at 61. So they're 6-1 on the season. If they had a pretty big win earlier, if I'm not mistaken, they beat USC at USC. So they've had a pretty solid start to their season. And we'll see what they can do, or see what the Aggies can do against UC Irvine. All right, going to take another timeout here on the Full Court Press. When we come back, let's get into Region 11 discussions. High school basketball. Got a couple games going on tonight. A lot of games going on later this week. But Jason and I will give our thoughts as we kind of try to look into the crystal ball, if you will, and try to predict how things might go this season for Region 11. Who do you think is going to be the top teams? Who are the biggest gainers? Teams that may struggle after losing some of their talent last year. 435-339-0321.
Clean it up and get it out this fall.
Don't wait another winter. Let DD Auto and Salvage pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy and fast to get rid of your junk or vehicles by paying you the most money possible. Pickup is available. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan want to pay you today. Search DD Auto and Salvage today or call 787-1204.
That's 787-1204.
See store for details.
Beezer Lock and Key specializes in securing your world with their expertise in locks, keys, and hardware. Every aspect of their services is meticulously tailored to ensure your safety. They offer a vast selection of hardware brands and access control options, along with custom master key systems. With Beezer Lock and Key, you have control of your facility's access 24/7. For 28 years, Beezer has provided top-notch security solutions that stand unmatched in the industry. Visit 4th North, 1st West, and Logan, or go to beezerlock.com to discover more.
Are you interested in a new career opportunity? Are you wanting great pay, benefits, and the potential for career growth? Spartronics is looking for talented individuals to join their team in a production position to manufacture circuit boards and build life-saving innovations for a better future. See what Spartronics is all about and what they might have to offer you. Located here in beautiful Cache Valley at 750 East, 1600 North in North Logan, Spartronics is a fresh start for your new career. To find out more, go to spartronics.com.
Renegade Rentals in Logan and Brigham City.
We're here to help.
Renegade Rentals in Logan and Brigham City is your headquarters for everything snowblower, with Aaron's, Toro, and Honda. Small to commercial, 24 to 36-inch tracks or wheels. Renegade has it all. Go to renegaderentals.com for details. That's renegaderentals.com. Renegade Rentals.
We're here to help.
In Logan and Brigham City.
Several families who need help this holiday season have been nominated by trusted individuals. Some of them need winter clothes, others would like toys or music, and others simply need basic necessities. The Cache Valley Media Group is sponsoring Cares for Christmas. Visit caresforchristmas.org to see what these families need, then drop off your donations to 810 West, 200 North in Logan. Thank you for helping these deserving families, and thanks for caring this Christmas.
This holiday season, a new Honda CRF is more than the most reliable machine to hit the trails. Our lineup of family-friendly trail bikes offers the perfect gift for riders of every level. From the CRF 50F to the 110, the 125, and the full-size 250F, you can give the gift of riding to every rider in the family. So head to Cache Honda at the Light in Hyde Park now during the Honda Gifts That Go sales event and give the gift that'll last a lifetime.
This is Nate Lamson with Valley Office Systems, your home team when local matters. Valley Office Systems is your local provider for all things office, copiers, printers, furniture, and document management. Proudly serving Cache Valley since 2007. Visit valleyofficesystems.com.
CacheValleyDaily.com, your go-to source for all things local. Get plugged into the pulse of your community with our comprehensive local news coverage. From city council decisions to feature stories highlighting people in your own neighborhood, we've got you covered. But that's not all. Catch the adrenaline of live, local sports and the latest news involving the Utah State Aggies. Don't miss out on crucial information that affects you and your loved ones on CacheValleyDaily.com. Stay informed, engaged, and empowered, because staying local means staying connected.
Talking the sports you care about. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker, and talking a lot of hoops this hour. And, we're going to talk a lot of basketball for much of the show. But shifting from college to high school now, Region 11 high school basketball games have started. We had some teams play before Thanksgiving. Some teams just getting their first games under their belts this week. But we'll look at what does Region 11 basketball look like this year? A lot of good basketball last year. Skyview winning it all. Ridgeline had a deep run. We had some teams kind of start to emerge with some of their newer coaches starting to play well. Obviously, every year it's different. You got guys who graduate. Underclassmen have to step up. And each year brings in a little bit different situation within Region 11. Some schools are known to be programs. They just reload, while others, it takes a little bit more time. So let's go through this Region 11 teams to see where we think things are. And How should we do this, Jason? In reverse order?
From like our predicted order of
Predicted
finish?
order of finish?
Yeah, I think we can do that.
Okay. So at number 6, and this is always tough. You and I were talking before off air. This is always hard. I have a lot of scribbles all over my page.
Yeah, I made it halfway through mine, and then I realized they made a mistake. There's a team that I forgot how many guys they were returning. Honestly, if you get mad at me for my rankings, just know that I probably hate myself for my rankings more than any of you. Just to be clear. I hate the fact that I've put a couple of teams at 5 and 6. I don't think they deserve to be at 5 and 6, like the 5 or 6 spots. And I'm like, there's no way. But I have to list teams 1 through 6, and there's just, I don't know.
Somebody has to be there.
Yeah, because I like, boys basketball's been pretty good for, even last year there were some teams that were at the bottom, and it still felt like they were decent teams that could provide a decent matchup. So it's tough. It was really annoying making this ranking. So I was like,
very challenging.
Honestly, you could probably flip my rankings upside down, and I probably wouldn't call you crazy for saying that would be the predicted order of finish. Call you a little crazy, but not completely.
Just a little crazy, just not all the way crazy. Okay, so at number 6 for our Region 11 preview, boys basketball, I've got Logan at number 6.
Figured you'd put him there.
Just they lost. I mean, they were a surprise team last year. They were a lot of fun, but they lost a lot of those guys. A lot of those guys graduated. They're not there anymore. They do have some coming back still, and I like what Coach Argyle is doing there. I'm just a little bit worried about the loss of what made that team so special last year.
Yeah, so they lost 3 key guys, none bigger than Justin Anderson, averaging all of 18 points per game. And then they lost Carson Tuft, who was averaging about 7 or 8 points per game, and Sedona Bai. So 3 key rotation players. Sedona and Carson kind of switched back and forth who was starting at one of those guard spots. But Justin Anderson, clearly one of the top dogs. And so he's gone. But they do return, first team All-Region Jordan Child.
Yes.
Who's already picked up where he left off last season, put up 23 points, 12 rebounds in Logan's first game against Mountain View. So I don't have Logan. I can see where you're coming from because they've got a lot of guys who got to step up, especially that backcourt. They lost pretty much everyone in that backcourt. And so they're going to be needing to have guys step up. They have guys all over the front court. They return Jordan Child. They return Jalen Argyle. They return, they got a guy, Reed Olson, know him from football. He's playing center now. He put up 10 points, 4 rebounds the other night. So that front court's probably set. But we're going to have to see what they do with that backcourt because they lost the biggest piece plus 2 other rotation guys in the backcourt. They got a couple of guys jumping up from JV who saw brief moments last year. But yeah, they're going to need to have some guys step up. I think they have a sophomore in the backcourt who's playing this year already.
So who do you have as your number 6?
I have Green Canyon.
Oh.
Who, I'll be honest, when I was thinking of it a while back, I was like, this is going to be the biggest breakout team of Region 11. They're definitely going to flip it. And then, I was doing the rankings, and I was like, well, I guess. Honestly, again, this is why I hate my rankings, because I think Green Canyon could finish top 3. I legitimately believe that. But someone's at 6. They got Jared Anderson, the guy who had to confuse with Justin Anderson all year. He's the guy who was carrying the team last year through their slumps, having some massive scoring games. It was classic, him and Justin Anderson were going back and forth in the game at Logan last year. Spectacular game. And they've got some, returning experience guys who are kind of getting their feet wet last year, struggled with consistency. I think they'll be better, and so I think they can finish at the top, but I had to throw somebody at the bottom.
Okay. Oh, then at number 5, this is another one that I labored with, but again, returning talent, returning availability, guys who contributed, who are back. Skyview just does not have very many of those guys. And so I've got Skyview at number 5, which is weird because Skyview is one of those program schools. They don't they don't rebuild, they reload. But I think this is a rebuilding year for Skyview. And so I've got them at number 5.
I have Skyview a little higher. I'll just say that. Tanner Davis does exist. One of the best players in the region.
Yes.
So that's going to go a long way. Like, this is why I didn't put Logan in the bottom. They have one of the top 2 players in region on Logan's team. So
That's
I have
fair.
him a little higher. And I have Skyview a little higher, partly because of Tanner Davis and partly because of that program status. Kind of trust what Kirk Hilliard's doing up there. But also at 5, I have Mountain Crest. And this is another team. Like, both Green Canyon and Mountain Crest struggled last year. And Mountain Crest, maybe I should have put them at 6 because they lost their top scorer, Oliver Nethercott. But Cade Hess is a guy that I think is going to have a big jump this season. He's already shown some great things in the first few games. And they've got some other guys that are just going to – a lot of their guys who, again, they're mostly getting their feet wet, working through consistency issues. They're going to hopefully move past that and have a lot of these guys perform at a lot more consistent level than they did last year. But again, we'll see how that goes. I think there's some better players than some of these other teams, so I got Mountain Crest at 5.
Okay, coming in at number 4, that's where I put Mountain Crest, at number 4. I just feel like Chandler Smith is turning a corner there as a coach. I like their returning talent. I will admit I'm a little bit biased by games that I've already seen from Mountain Crest, picking up several road wins and doing it in a nice fashion, balanced scoring. I like the returning experience that they have and how versatile their lineup appears. So that's where I've got Mountain Crest coming in a little bit higher than where you've got them.
And so I've got Logan at number 4. Just, I've already kind of gone through with Logan. You got Jordan Child, one of the best, not just one of the best front court players, just one of the best players. All-around guy, can score, rebound, even pass. I think he picked up 4 assists in their season opener, was a good passer last season. He's interior shot swatter, gets some steals. He does everything. He even hit a 3, which is something he didn't do a whole lot of last year. So this is a guy who's all-around. He's a great player, and he's gonna dominate a lot, and he's gonna lead Logan to a few wins and be able to carry the team while some of these, again, the backcourt largely, is trying to figure things out where they're getting a little bit more experience there.
All right, so coming in at number 3, Bear River Bears for me. This is also a team that returns a lot of guys. They're a very senior-laden team. Pretty much their starters and most of their rotation guys are all seniors. So this is a very experienced team, a lot of veteran players, and very stout defense. So that strong defense is always going to keep them in a lot of games. And I feel like Bear River is moving into the middle to upper tier of Region 11 this year.
Yeah, they were a team that when I was going through, I kind of forgot to put them in my rankings, and because I also have them at 3, I should say. I have them the same spot you do, where I was like, oh, I got to read you my entire rankings because I had to put Bear River in the top 3, just with the returning production. They weren't too consistent last year, but yeah, your return guys, most of your rotation, a lot of the same reasons I talked about Mountain Crest and Green Canyon being able to improve this year. Just more experience with some really talented guys, Kyver Jensen, Garrick Marble. They've got guys on the inside and outside who are playmakers, and they're only going to get better. So honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Bear River was a contender for the region title this year, not just a team that happens to finish in the top 3.
At number 2, that's where I've got the Green Canyon Wolves. I like Green Canyon's their depth for returning starters. Coach Brown, I think, is a very solid coach. And this is the year of the Wolves. I mean, how can I pick against Green Canyon for being where everything else has been happening for that school? All jokes aside, though, I mean, this is a very experienced team. Not a great year last year, but a lot of those guys got key minutes and key opportunities and are improving. And I like Green Canyon to be the number 2 team out of this region.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, I put them last, but I legitimately believe that there is a possibility for them to make that kind of leap. It just happened to put other teams above them. I had Skyview at number 2, or I have Skyview at number 2. They've got one of the best players offensively and defensively, versatile 6'5" point guard, Tanner Davis. He's going to have to carry a bigger load this year than he did last year, where they just spread it across like 6 different players. Skyview, again, they're a program. Like, we don't know who any of these guys are, but we're going to know who they are by the end of the year. And I don't know if it's going to be region title worthy, but Skyview's a good team. They reload, and they've got a guy that they can rely on while they have these other guys, getting a few more varsity minutes and getting things going.
Good point. And then at the top of my list, it sounds like the top of yours as well, Ridgeline Riverhawks. We've talked a lot about some of these teams here that with depth and talent. I just think Ridgeline has they do have depth, but I also like their talent level. Coach Kyle Day has proven to be a great coach. They continue to get new players to come in and play significant roles. Jagger Frankham is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the low post and what he does for Ridgeline. This is a team that went deep last year, doesn't really lose too much off of that roster from last year that had a lot of success.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because I think Carson Cox got banged up. He's one of their top wings. He got banged up at the end of the football season, so we'll see exactly how things go with him. But yeah, Ridgeline is the only team that combines both a lot of returning talent with they were also really good last year. Because we talk about teams like Bear River and Mountain Crest and Green Canyon returning a lot of talent. Well, those are the teams that were at the bottom of the standings last year. And Skyview and Logan were both toward the top, but they lost some key guys. Skyview, a lot of them. Logan, a couple of them. And so Ridgeline, they return a lot of their key guys. Cam Blotters, another guy, really good passer, really good point guard for the Riverhawks. So combine that returning talent with they were good last year. And last year it felt like they underachieved based on the talent they had on their roster, but I think they'll be able to meet expectations and at least finish toward the top, if not end up with that region title.
So that's our Region 11 preseason rankings, I guess.
Preseason predicted order of finish.
Yeah, there we go.
Like 6 days too late.
Even though the season has already begun. We got to take a time out here in the Full Court Press. Love to hear your thoughts on that. Do you agree or disagree with our rankings? And we've got some games going on this week. A very busy week. A lot of teams will be in Cache Valley, Northern Utah this week. Bear River's got a tournament going on. A couple other schools here hosting teams. So we'll tell you who's playing where, how you can follow along. It's all coming up next right here on the Full Court Press.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. Life is good. Life at My Mattress is good too. Why might I say that? Because today is a good day to slay a Goliath. The other day I went into a mattress store here in Logan that has 2,500 stores across the country. I'd say that's a Goliath. We were 20% less expensive on every bed that we both offer. We may not have 2,500 stores, but we are number one in Cache Valley. Better product and better prices. Isn't it time to sleep exceptionally? Only at My Mattress.
Don't get caught without power to your home or business. This is Tyler with Golden Spike Electric. We offer Generac backup generators to keep your home or business warm, avoiding frozen pipes, loss of valuable food, or even a flooded basement. Golden Spike Electric is certified and factory trained, so you know it will be installed right and properly maintained. Contact Golden Spike Electric so you'll never be without power again. Online at gsegenerators.com. We also service other brands, Golden Spike Electric and Generac. Power you can count on.
Advanced Heating and AC and Advanced Fireplace and Stove want to help local families this year with a food drive. Drop off your canned foods at Advanced Heating across from DI or hand them to one of their technicians when they come to your home for a repair. And to say thank you, the Advanced team will match all your contributions and offer a 20% discount on your next service call. Find out more at AdvancedFireplaceandStove.com or call 752-7272. Donate to Advanced Fireplace and Stove's canned food drive for local families.
We're not comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
Copiers, printers, service, and supplies are just the beginning. Les Olson IT is the premier source for your business's structured cabling, IT, software, telephones, and security systems. We partner with you to find the ideal solution to all of your office technology needs. Tell us your goals and we'll get you there. Find out more at lesolson.com.
Les Olson IT.
Hi, this is Ashley with LSS Insurance. Open enrollment for individual health insurance is November 1st through January 15th. Coverage through the marketplace is available with more tax credits. You could save a bunch. If you haven't qualified in the past, try again now. We will help you navigate the marketplace, understand your choices, and complete enrollment. Trying it on your own can be frustrating. Let us help. Call 752-9493. There is no cost to work with us. Having a local agent makes all the difference. Call 752-9493.
This is Two Pros
and a cup of Joe.
Justin Fields had a hell of a first half, but yeah, the late turnovers, the fumble, the interception, I don't know what the plan is moving forward. Look, the good news is they've got the number 1 and number 2 pick in the draft next year as it stands right now.
Two pros, LeVar Arrington, Brady Quinn, and a cup of Joe, Jonas Knox.
Weekday mornings from 4 to 7 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan. It doesn't matter who you root for. The Full Court Press has all the high school sports covered. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
There is a big winter storm supposed to start coming through this weekend. Stock up on Blue Heat Ice Melt. Get 50 pounds for just $10 at Napa Auto Parts. So you can also get washer fluid from Prime Guard or Peak. And if you drive a diesel, it'll run better when you treat the fuel with Stanadine, House, or Power Service. Go check it out. 5 locally owned, Preston to Providence, Napa Auto Parts stores. 435-339-0321. If you want to chime in on our Full Court Press text line, as we've been going through high school basketball for Region 11. Jason and I differ quite a bit on our rankings. I think we both had Bear River at 3rd and Ridgeline at 1st. But other than that, all very different for our Region 11 rankings for how we think things will happen this season. Agree or disagree? How would you put things differently? Also, recapping that Utah State basketball win at St. Louis over the weekend. It was last night. I'm ready for the weekend. But no, it's a good win for Utah State, 81-76. Had a nice lead, and give St. Louis credit. They tried to make it a game. Aggies slow it down a little bit, go a little bit out of character, and kind of open the door for them. But it was more about what St. Louis was doing than what Utah State was not doing. But, hey, give the Aggies credit. They made their free throws, made their shots, good defensive stand at the very end. And they get a good road win for the Utah State Aggies. They will return home to take on UC Irvine on Saturday. So another good chance for a really good game there. Definitely a big one for Utah State. 7280 weighing in on our predicted order of finish for high school hoops through Region 11. But Ridgeline at number 1, Skyview at number 2, Bear River at number 3, Green Canyon at number 4, Mountain Crest 5, and Logan number 6. Okay. Yeah, I think what's interesting is that it seems like every one of us we're different places that I look. My opinions, Jason's opinions, some other publications that have put something together, your texts coming in. They're all very different for most of the teams where they're going to land outside of number 1. It seems to be kind of a unanimous selection at number 1. But beyond that, there's a lot of uncertainty. And I think that's more of a compliment to Region 11, that there's some good basketball going on here. There's some good coaches, some teams with some good returning talent, which makes it kind of tough to try to predict. Teams who have been good are trying to find out who they are, their new identity with these players that are gone. Some teams trying to figure that out and have a chance to learn more about that tonight, actually. Skyview, they're going to be at Box Elder tonight, and that'll be heard here on The Fan. Hurricane John Newbold making the trip over to Brigham City to call that game. The Logan High Grizzlies. Also, what's that team like? I mean, I put Logan at number 6. 7280 put them at number 6, but Jason a lot higher on Logan. And we'll see more about Logan tonight. They're at Spanish Fork, and that'll be on our sister station KVNU, 102.1 FM, 610 AM. Video streaming for both games on CashValleyDaily.com. So interesting to see what happens in these games tonight. Now, Ridgeline did play last night at Fremont. Close game, but ultimately fell a few points short. in that one in their season opener. Mountain Crest has already had 3 games under their belts. Logan played one last week or before Thanksgiving at Mountain View. Skyview and Green Canyon also had games earlier in the week. Bear River played a game last night at Bonneville. And then later this week, we've got a lot of games. So Bear River's hosting a tournament. They've got Union, American Prep, and Uinta that they'll be facing. Skyview is got Box Elder tonight. They're going to be up at Madison on December 1st. Green Canyon is part of a tournament of games, hosting games with Ridgeline and Mountain Crest. So they've got Mountain Home on Thursday, Twin Falls on Friday, Hurricane Saturday afternoon. Ridgeline will have Twin Falls Thursday, Hurricane Friday, and then Mountain Home on Saturday. And Mountain Crest will open with Hurricane, then Mountain Home, and finish with Twin Falls. And Logan is going to be hosting Woods Cross on Friday. So a lot of high school basketball going on this week. Learning a lot more about these teams. Several girls basketball games will be taking place here in northern Utah over the next few days as well. So no shortage of choices to go watch some high school hoops. We're going to take a timeout, and on the other side, we'll get into the Utah Jazz and high school.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. Free agent Shohei Ohtani has all the contending teams salivating heading into free agency. He's a unique talent, and his marketability overseas may be equal to his ability on the field, which is saying a whole lot. He's got 2 MVPs so far. He will no doubt be the top available free agent. But if teams miss out, you may actually be able to replace his skills on the mound as well as his marketability. Throughout his career in Japan, Yoshinobu Yamamoto has compiled a one-loss record of 70-29, 3 MVPs, and played a critical role in helping Japan win the World Baseball Classic. Living up to other Japanese legends like Ichiro, Yu Darvish, and Hideki Matsui will undoubtedly be difficult. But with one of the more impressive overseas resumes that we've seen in a while, and the backings of a country obsessed with baseball, the possibilities are endless for Yamamoto. And with plenty of money to go around this winter, Ohtani isn't the only Japanese star who will generate a bidding war. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.